Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in a personal story segment. Tonight, millions of Americans are deeply offended that Christmas symbols like the manger scene and even the term Christmas are under fire in certain quarters. We've documented over the past few weeks that the ACLU wants the words Christmas holiday taken off some school calendars, that the New York public school system, for one, has banned the manger scene but allowed the menorah and the Star and Crescent Islamic flag to be displayed in schools. Joining us now from Washington is Hussein Ibish, the Communications Director for the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. And here in the studio, Michael Salberg, General Counsel for the Anti-Defamation League, a Jewish advocacy group. All right, Counselor, begin with you. How do you see this issue overall?
Well, Bill, I think the issue is one of trying to fit within guidelines that the courts have set down in a country where, like the United States, where religion is freely exercisable by all, and we have to find a way to fit within what the courts have said is permissible. One of the things that makes this country great is that we encourage the free exercise of religion by all. Okay, and don't impose religion on anyone.
You can't go by the courts because you go from judge to judge to judge to judge, and they all interpret the Establishment Clause differently. So let's get specific. New York City Public Schools, you okay with that ruling? No manger, but menorah and Star and Crescent, okay. You okay with that?
I think we have to be able to define where the courts, we have to identify.
You're dodging, Mr. Salberg, with all due respect. This is a simple question. This is a no-spin zone. You okay with the New York City Public Schools saying no manger, menorah, and Star and Crescent okay? You okay with that?
Predominantly religious symbols, like the nativity scene, like a menorah, should not be displayed during holiday seasons in public schools.
All right, so you'd knock the menorah out and the Star and Crescent flag out.
I think that it is offensive to religion to take religion, because the Supreme Court has said you can display symbols that have acquired a secular connotation.
Like the manger scene.
Well, I don't know that the manger scene
Well, if you got a federal holiday named Christmas, then you got to have a connection to whatever the federal holiday is, which is the birth of Jesus. You know, Mr. Ibish, how do you see this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that obviously you have to be very careful about, using the public schools to establish a religion and to promote one religion over another, but I don't think this is a big mystery. I think it's a pretty straightforward balance that the courts have generally set and that the Constitution sets for us, which is that you can teach about religious ideas, you can teach about cultural symbols, you can include them in public schools as long as you don't basically promote one religion over the other. So, I really do have a problem with the New York ruling that you've mentioned just now. And I think that one can really do damage to a very important principle, which is the Establishment Clause and the separation of church and state, by exaggerating it and start getting worried about kids finding out that it's Christmas during Christmas. I mean, who let the cat out of the bag?
All right, so you're disagreeing now with Mr. Salberg. Mr. Salberg would wipe out all the vestiges of any religious symbolism.
Yeah, I really do.
What would you do?
Well, what I think is important is to include those symbols in an educational manner. Take a nativity scene, for example. I mean, obviously, if a school put up a giant life-size nativity scene right on its front lawn, right outside the school, you could interpret that as a kind of promotion of the New Testament and the Bible story of Jesus, etc. But if it were included in a classroom with appropriate discussion and a real, part of religious education, discussion of the significance of that story, that symbol, the nativity scene in our culture. That's important. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree with you on this. Now, Mr. Salberg, let me ask you this. I believe it's very important for American children in the public school system to be taught about different religions, all right? I think it's vital that they should know what Judaism is, they should know what Islam is, they should know what Christianity is. If we have a federal holiday, and the reason we have this holiday is because we're founded on Judeo-Christian tradition. That's why we have it. The federal holiday is Christmas, honoring the birth of the philosopher Jesus, because the government doesn't impose that you be a Christian. And you're saying to me in a public school you can't have a manger scene? That to me is anti-education.
There is a distinction to be made between teaching religion, teaching about religion to students,
right,
and preaching religion or promoting religion.
So a little kid lying in a manger is promoting religion?
It is a very powerful symbol.
Yeah.
Signifying the origin of
the
a
philosopher
religion.
Jesus.
The origin of a religion founded by that child, according to those who follow that faith. It is a powerful symbol. The menorah is a powerful symbol for the Jewish people. And teaching about those symbols, as opposed to displaying them during a holiday season over a prolonged period of time, makes a difference. Having to come to school daily and view these powerful symbols without explanation, without the teacher.
If it's without explanation, that's the school's problem. Where is Mr. Sahlberg going wrong here, Mr. Ibish?
Well, I mean, I think he did just taking a very sound principle and taking it to an absurd extreme. If you look at the ADL's website, it says very clearly that under no circumstances could a nativity scene or a crucifix be displayed in a public school during Christmas time. And I think that's just taking a very important principle about the separation of church and state and non-establishment of religion and taking it to to an absurd
degree. My problem with your
frankly.
argument, Mr. Sahlberg, is not what Mr. Ibish's is. My problem is that you equate all visions of the manger scene as religious, and I say they are not. They are in context with the federal holiday. If you don't like the federal holiday, have it repealed. But if we have a federal holiday honoring this man, then we ought to know what it's about. Now, one more question to you. The New York courts, you said we just began this discussion with the courts, have ruled the menorah is not a religious symbol, and you just said it is a very powerful religious symbol.
And I find it offensive to denigrate the power of that religious symbol and consider it secular.
Okay,
I find it offensive.
but how can you say that we have to uphold the courts when you know the courts are damn wrong on this one? Because it is. You are right.
The country of laws, the courts establish their interpretation of the laws. We, as citizens of this country, follow the rulings of the courts.
The courts are not uniformed. We have judges that legislate from the bench. You know that.
That's why we have a Supreme Court.
That's right.
An ultimate conclusion.
That's right. But you can't just say
when there
the courts say, because the courts are about as screwed up as they could possibly get. All right. Very interesting, you guys. I really appreciate you coming in. A lot to think about, and it was very well put. Mr. Sahlberg, appreciate it. Mr. Ibish, as always. Next on the run.